Morning, everybody. Let me recognize the Minister for Public Works, Honorable Grant. Also, we have the Minister of Finance, Honorable Dr. McIntyre, and permanent secretaries and media. Those following the live broadcast of this press conference. Good morning, everybody. I wish to use this opportunity to once again express my deepest sympathies and that of my cabinet colleagues to the family of Mr. Alwin, who passed on Friday. Mr. Alwin was an exemplary citizen, a kind and humble soul, who demonstrated profound love and commitment for Dominica, its people, and culture. Through his work as a cultural administrator both in Dominica and in the region, he helped engender a deep appreciation for our customs and traditions. His legacy is all around us. In the national flag he designed in 1978 as Dominica gained its independence from Great Britain. It is truly one of the most beautiful flags in the world, which incorporated aspects of Dominica's natural features and the spirit, character, and values of our people. The cultural division he established providing a structured approach to the promotion and development of our cultural art forms. The many national organizations which he spearheaded, including the National Cultural Council, the Dominica Artists Guild, the Writers Guild, the Carnival Organizing Committee, and the Comité pour Études Creole, several of which continue to function today. The mentorship he provided to young playwrights, actors, directors, writers, costume designers, and so many other creatives, who now proudly speak of the influence he had on their lives and work. We recognize him as a national hero who made an invaluable contribution to the preservation and promotion of our arts and culture. To honor his proud legacy, the Government of Dominica will bestow on an official funeral for recognizing his contribution to our country. And this was offered to his wife, and she has graciously accepted. All flags will be flown at half-staff for 2 days. That is the day immediately preceding his burial and the day of his burial. May his soul rest in eternal peace. With regards to the Trough payments, or families affected in the East Dominica, of November last year, the government promised it would assist affected residents with income support, and I'm happy to report that this process is well underway. $400 provided to households of 1 to 2 members, and $750 provided to households of more than 2 members. As of March 7, 2023, payments have been made to Peter Soufriere and Sansove from a total of 162 households, 145 paid. Castle Bruce, Tranto, Deepa, from 99 households affected, 84 paid. Good Hope, from 128 households affected, 102 paid. The Government of Dominica wishes to thank the World Food Program for partnering with us in this venture. Individuals in these communities who have not collected payments are advised to first verify eligibility with their respective village councils. They will be advised further on how they can collect payments. On the matter of relocation, we are moving swiftly ahead, and very soon the Cabinet will be in a position to advise the public on the concrete actions we have taken. A committee is in place to advance the process and has already developed draft eligibility requirements, as well as a relocation plan for review by the Cabinet. As I've already advised, we have taken a firm decision to relocate the most vulnerable members of these affected communities, and we are working towards this objective. I will now speak and give an update in respect to the international airport. As it relates to the international airport, you have seen the movement on the ground, with the offloading of heavy equipment to begin work on the site. I have heard some public statements made in relation to payments for land and to homeowners in the Wesley area. This is a matter the government continues to address, and we wish to advise against malicious attempts by people with no direct interests in the matter of payments who are seeking to turn this matter into a conflict. The fact is, compensation is an ongoing process, and so far, this government has issued payment in full to landowners in the amount of $24,344,807.48, and this is January 2023 figure. I have given and I continue to give the assurance that the outstanding amounts will be paid to landowners in the next few weeks. Just a further note that keys to completed residences have been handed over to 26 homeowners affected by the construction of the international airport in a new Joe Burton development. Works are ongoing on the construction of an additional 13 units. And just to say to the public that among these 13 people are people who were squatting on government land and who had a shack or the likes on government land. And in the usual government's humanitarian considerations, we have decided to build homes for these families. And out of the 26 who got homes in Joe Burton, we built about 12 to families who were living on a family parcel of land with very, very terrible housing condition. And we've given all of these families brand new homes at no cost to them in that regard. There are several farmers who have been squatting in government land since the Workers' Party bought these lands way back in 1999 thereabout, who are now being processed with proper leases so that they know that they have a legal document to build upon there. With the expansion of Joe Burton and turning Joe Burton into a housing area, there are about 20 or so lots which have already been subdivided into housing lots and will be sold to residents in the Wesley Woodford area, some of whom are public officers and people who work in the private sector, who are desirous of owning a piece of land so that they can build their own homes in those areas. So there are many people who continue to benefit from this. So, and I must say to you, the public, persons who reside out of Wesley, that I have not met more responsible and responsive and helpful people than those whom we have engaged in the acquisition of their lots and their properties in Wesley and Palm Tree area. They have been most conscious of their commitment to the country, and we will always be grateful to them for their understanding. And in respect to compensation for crops, we have paid all of this, including people who were planting on somebody else's land with no legal documents and so forth. We compensated them. Even the biggest loudmouth in Fidel, who is the former PRO, current PRO of the United Workers' Party, who got his first check, and I understand he bought a vehicle with it the next day. So he got paid and so forth. So people must speak the truth, and if they don't know, they must ask, and so forth. And then there's talk about the environmental impact assessment. We commissioned an EIA on January 2021, and that exercise was completed in February 2022. So it took over a year of evaluations and assessments. And that EIA was done jointly by two firms, one locally registered and one internationally registered, with tremendous work and studies done on various projects across the Caribbean and the world. And that assessment was conducted by a local firm, Ocean Caraïbe Consultants, working in association with Applied Technology and Management from the United States of America, and also JFK Engineering of Dominica. And of course, the studies were done. There were serious consultations with various stakeholders in the assessment. and doing these various studies. So the issue of there is no EIA is certainly false and no doubt malicious. The other issue I hear some people raising the issue of geotechnical studies. Now, I'm not an engineer, and I'm only speaking based on advice, that geotechnical studies would have to be an ongoing exercise. As you go along, you will conduct geotechnical studies. Obviously, it will be done on a phased basis, taking into consideration the areas that you're going to start earth movement or construction first and going down the road. And my understanding is that geotechnical studies as of March 7, 2023, 161 boreholes and 15 test pits, and there are over 400 boreholes planned. And due to the size of the site, that is over 500 acres, the geotechnical testing is phased to prioritize the critical areas, where there will be a lot of cutting in order to determine how much can be used for fill, and 2, the runway, taxiway, apron, and terminal. That is the key areas where the aircraft will be landing and using. Findings so far, they varies based on location, but predominant soil type will require some treatment to aid stabilization. We continue to engage all of our international regional partners with the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority, who have been a key partner in reviewing the master plan and all preliminary drawings that we have. We've also engaged with ICAO on this, who have also given us their feedback on this. And we've also sent the master plan and some drawings that we have to the International Air Transport Association so that they can give their feedback. At some point, we'll also be engaging the FAA, who will be a critical partner in the process of ensuring that we meet all of the international standards. And so I've always said to the public that we are following the construction of this international airport, devoid of any political interference where the engineering, the designs, the surveying will be done. Because this is a critical project in Dominica. And you will never have 2 opportunities to build it. But it is interesting to note that the very same people who want to protest and demonstrate and who want to stop the airport are the ones who were saying that they were going to build an airport in 1999. And no Dominican has been able to see, not even, crooked lines on any paper. Nobody has seen any firm that they intend or they engage on the EIA. Nothing like that. And when we decided to look at this international airport, we decided, look, let us invite internationally reputable companies to do the feasibility study on this airport for us and to determine what is the best site. And we made it very clear to the international firm that we want you to be as professional come. And we will not interfere in the process politically at all. And this is where we are today. And I want to say to Dominicans, with the presence of the equipment there, it is a clear indication of our seriousness. The company is fully mobilized to advance this project. And we, by God's grace, we will see this project come to a successful completion, and that this will certainly no doubt enhance our economic opportunities in this country with direct air access for visitors and Dominicans alike, and also the enhancement of the export of agricultural and other manufactured goods in Dominica. And the reality is, I don't think we can build the country to the extent that young people want it to be built, a post-colonial economy, without the presence of such a piece of infrastructure. It has eluded us for over 50 years, and I'm just 50 years, and we've been talking about it for more than 50 years. Many governments have attempted, not successful, and I do not blame them for not being successful because of the sheer cost of this. And I think the closest we came at any one point to build the international airport was when the Americans had promised Dame Eugenia Child's assistance in earth moving. And even then, we had no designs for the airport. And even then, there was no EIA conducted on the international airport. And so I want to let all right-thinking Dominicans be assured that we are following the construction of this international airport with prudence, with responsibility, and with professionalism, and so forth. On the arguments of whether we need an international airport, the Bible cautions us against engaging certain people in you can read the Bible and find the word that it says we're not going to engage foolish people in that kind of engagement. Certainly not me. This airport will be pressed on, and we shall press on it. And I want to thank the Wesley people for standing on the side of development. They have made tremendous personal sacrifices in moving away from where they lived for so many decades. And I can say to Dominican people that their cooperation has been second to none, exceptional. And this is why I have made a firm commitment that all of the property owners, their names will be inscribed on a wall in the international airport so that current and succeeding generations of Dominicans will understand, had it not been for these people, we would not have an international airport, because they gave up their comfort zone to allow us to give Dominica a better opportunity at economic progress and development. And of course, who better person would I invite now to speak and to report on a couple of matters in his own ministry, the Member of Parliament for the Woodfordale Wesley Palm Tree constituency. I tried to exchange with him during the last election so I could run in Wesley and be the power for Wesley to benefit from this once in a lifetime project, but he told me nothing shall go so. Right.
Good morning, everyone. Let me recognize the presence of the Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Consultant within the Ministry of Public Works, Mr. Kendall Johnson, Permanent Secretary, CAPSEC, the media. Good morning. Extreme weather events caused by climate change has forced governments worldwide to go back to the drawing board. For us here in Dominica, our infrastructure has been hit the hardest. In recent years, we have seen communities cut off because of road failures. We have seen otherwise strong bridges washed away, and the road network severely undermined because of heavy rainfall and land slippage. The government has paid hundreds of millions of dollars to truckers and heavy equipment for clearing of roads following extreme weather conditions. We will all remember the most recent disaster in the east of Dominica. Unlike many of our sister countries in the region, the reality in Dominica is that adapting to climate change is costing the government of Dominica hundreds of millions of dollars. I will give a brief update now on various large projects the ministry is undertaking. We will start with the Lyre Road project. The Lyre Road project, an estimated $23 million. This project runs from the Hillsborough Bridge to the York Valley Bridge and is divided into two phases. Phase 1 is currently being implemented. The scope of works for Phase 1 has been amended to include sections of the road carded for Phase 2, thereby allowing for a continuous 4 kilometers of rehabilitated roadway. This was made technically feasible by realigning these sections of the road away from the river's edge, thereby reducing the vulnerability. What is remain under this phase, is the river protection and draining works to be done under Phase 2. To date, Phase 1 has been substantially completed with the recent paving of the road, Road marking and signage will be completed soon. Regarding the section of road from the York Valley Bridge to the Sultan Warner Junction, we are currently undertaking estimates and assessment for preparation for rehabilitation of that section of the road. The East Coast Road Project. Mr. Johnson is here with us today. He will go into more details of this project. However, I would like to thank the people of Cassie-Bruce and the Kalinago territory for their continued cooperation while works progress. Just to inform the public, to date we have 3 water trucks on the route, and today we are expecting a 4th water truck to ensure the reduction in dust for citizens in the area. Additionally, a dozen hoses has been purchased and given to residents of the more affected areas on the route. Road and bridge rehabilitation, Loubier to Granby. The government of Dominica has received financing towards the construction, towards the cost of rehabilitating the Loubier to Granby Road. Segment 1, Loubier to Snug Corner, 1.5 kilometers of road. This will include 2 bridges, 8 culverts, and slope stabilization intervention. Segment 2, Snug Corner to Pichler, road length 6.2 kilometers, which includes 35 culverts, 12 slope stabilization interventions. Segment 3, Pichler to Granby, road length 2.65 kilometers, 3 bridges and culverts. Recently, we had discussions at the ministry, and it is costing the government on average anywhere from $2.5 million to $4 million for 1 kilometer of road. And that is because of the increased rainfall and climate change. So it's important that the public understand the cost of these interventions. So we're looking at $2.5 million to $4 million for just 1 kilometer of road. So the interventions from the Loubier to Bagatelle Road, we will see a reduce in the vulnerability of the road to future extreme weather events, natural hazards, but generally we will see an improved safety for the motoring public. This project is in the procurement stage, and we expect the deadlines for the submission of tenders March 29th, 2023. At this time, I'll give the public an update on the North Coast Road Rehabilitation Project. We have the feasibility and preliminary design have been completed, and the estimate for that project is $427 million. $427 million. That is from Hatton Garden to Portsmouth, and that route we expected to see some 30 bridges. Now, the government, along with the Ministry of Public Works, will be undertaking this program in phases. So I'd just like to reassure the public, especially residents who use the Hampstead Bridge, that we are addressing the situation. And just to inform the general public, we continue an extensive patching program across the country. And if we have not visited your community as yet, we should be there sometime this week or next week. I know the residents of Granby have been calling the ministry. I can assure you that we will be in the constituency to ensure that the holes within the Granby constituency are patched. We move now to the Water Sector Strategic Development Project. The experience of Dominica during the disasters of Tropical Storm Erica and Hurricane Maria in the very recent past has clearly demonstrated the importance of a resilient infrastructure here in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Therefore, DUWASCO's primary focus remains strengthening its water systems as such that the Water Sector Strategic Development Program is paramount among projects currently being implemented. The following sub-projects have been selected for implementation and by the application of a multi-criteria infrastructure prioritization methodology. The areas include the Roseau Valley, which includes Trafalgar, Shawford, Forcani, Copthall, and Wharton Waven. The West Coast to include Coolibestry. The East Coast, which stretches from Mont John to Cassie-Bruce, the Calibishi water intake, and the Jimmet sewer system. This project is to the tune of $30 million US, with another $1.5 million is expected to be spent by the government of Dominica and Duasco. This project will result in a vast improvement in the water service reliability in the respective communities, as well as create significant economic activity throughout Dominica. We move now to the digital transformation project. As a nation will recall, recently the government secured funding from the World Bank in the amount of just over $76 million EC to support the implementation of our digital strategy. This digital transformation will modernize the way we do business here in Dominica. This digital transformation will ensure that the public sector delivers services to its citizens and industries in Dominica and create an environment where our young people can be innovative and create sustainable jobs for themselves. Under component 1 of this project, we will start, and I've already seen, the focus on legal and regulatory framework to institutions, reform consistent with global best practice, to support the modernization of telecommunications and the digital financial services sector, while mitigating against growing risk of the digital economy, including cybersecurity, data protection, and privacy. Component 2, digital government infrastructure and platform services. This component shall support the public sector modernization, resilience, and delivery of digital public services to the individuals and businesses. It will aim to ensure that Dominica has put in place the core infrastructure and platforms, institution, and human capacity needed to efficiently and effectively manage internal government operations. For example, public goods will be widely accessible online wherever you are in the country, region, or across the globe. We will have access to data and information across borders to smooth administration of regional trade, immigration, and other services. We will have the ability to rapidly target and deliver payments and social services to citizens and businesses in the event of a natural disaster. The new and improved government services website will be made live soon. This new website will provide seamless access to the respective ministries, including forms presently in hard copy will be available online, and the relevant payments can be made via the government e-portal. A noteworthy and exciting aspect of the digital transformation is the implementation of the hospital management system. Once the system is operational, there will be connectivity across the country, so the health and wellness centers and the hospital will be connected. To just give a brief example of what this will include, a patient will be able to access his or her medical records anywhere in the country using a unique identification number. Medical staff will be connected and can use the medium to get support from each other. This will transform our health services with the aim to make delivery of health services more efficient and more effective. To put it simply, we'll be moving away from what we Dominicans call the doctor book into a more proficient and efficient system. So for most of us who would have visited the accident and emergency unit, on every visit to the hospital, you would have asked to fill out a form. This will be no more, as you would have all your records right there available. And I would just like to assure the public that yes, the system will be secured with different layers of security, so no, everybody is not going to have access to your health records. Another exciting aspect of the project is the modernization and the digitization of our civil records registry. A unique ID will be made available to all residents to improve access to government and private sector services. Importantly, we have catered for a wide and intense training of officers in the public service, including certified and digital courses. The first set of government staff have completed the recent cybersecurity course, and they will soon receive their certificates. The third component under this project, digital skills and technology adaptation. This component aims to better equip individuals and businesses for jobs and the economy of the future to spur on innovation and productivity. Our mission is to establish a niche of citizens equipped with digital skills To the end, we have already, to date, sorry, we have already established 15 digital hubs located in different communities across the country, 11 of which are already operational. We have also aggressively undertaken education and training of the general public at these hubs. Soon, we'll unfold a number of certified training programs to include network security, graphic design, software development, data analysis, cybersecurity, computer repairs. Just last week, we had a meeting with the Oracle Academy and one of the leading software companies in the world to discuss training and other solutions for the government. So we are seeking to provide the general public with training such as Java, C++, Python, and the list that goes on for different programming languages which are available, database management, cloud, and other web services. At the end of the implementation of this component, we'll have a number of Dominicans here on the island who can develop apps, especially apps which are suited for our society. We will go into the primary schools, into the high schools, and of course, our Dominica State College, and all communities to bring these opportunities to all Dominicans. At this point, I would like to thank the staff of the Ministry of Public Works for their continued support, as well as the staff of the digital economy. And I'd also like to especially thank our partners, the UNDP, in organizing training and obtaining technical support for the ministry. I thank you.
Thanks to the Honorable Minister for the summary of his ministry's activities. As you heard from the Minister, Mr. Kendall Johnson is the consultant engineer on the East Coast Road project, and he will now provide an update.
Okay. Good morning to all present. Honorable Prime Minister, Minister for Public Works, Minister Grant, Dr. McIntyre, CABSEC, PSs, Moderator Duran, the media, and the listening public. I'm happy to be here to share some of the project statistics with you, and that is regarding the rehabilitation of the Eastern Roadworks Phase 1. The Civil Works project comprises the rehabilitation of some 30 kilometers or 19 miles of road between the Bois-Diab Junction to Castle Bruce and Castle Bruce to Hatton Garden via the Kalinago territory. The main objectives of the project are to improve infrastructure resilience to disaster events through slope stabilization interventions, the rehabilitation of roads, bridges, retaining walls, and other drainage systems. Funding for this project was made available through the World Bank and also the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica under the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, the DVRP.
It's a loan, eh?
Yes, a loan. Yes, okay. A more detailed breakdown of the works, the project is broken down into two lots, namely lots 1 and 2. Lot 1, Bois-Diab to Castle Bruce, and the works comprise the rehabilitation and widening of the road pavement up to a travel width of about 6.5 meters or 21.5 feet. And the activities to achieve this are excavation and slope stabilization, the replacement of 2 bridges, namely the Livier Bridge, 28 meters long or 92 feet, and also the Belfield Bridge on the Castle Bruce stretch. That's about 33 meters long or 109 feet single span. The replacement of 77 culverts of varying sizes between 1.2 meters and 3 meters. That's 4 feet to 10 feet wide. Construction of 15 retaining walls, various heights and lengths, and curbs and slippers and other drains over that complete length of road. And also the asphalt concrete surfacing of those roads and other amenities to include road markings and signage. Similarly, Lot 2, again the rehabilitation of the road pavement, slope stabilization works, and the replacement of 3 bridges, the Castle Bruce Bridge, the Richmond Bridge, and the Pigua bridges, the replacement of 90 culverts, an asphalt road surfacing, and similarly other road amenities to include markings, signage, and bus stops. A contract in the sum of $126.8 million was awarded to Sotradom in June of 2020, with works commencing in earnest by November of 2020, with the expected completion dates for Lot 1, 16 May 2022, and Lot 2, 2nd of November 2022. Taking into account slow implementation of works, construction delays, impacts of weather-related events, and additional works, those completion dates have been revised as follows. So Lot 1, 30 June 2023, and Lot 2, 20 December 2023. Currently, progress is as follows. For Lot 1, excavation and road widening 100%, retaining walls, 14 out of the 15 have been completed. You just have one more retaining wall, and that was this along the section of road affected by the heavy rains of November last year. All of the 77 culverts have been placed, with works ongoing on 8 inlet-outlet structures, and those will be completed by the 27th of April this year. Rectangular drains, 82% or 500 meters out of the 607 meters have been completed, and those will be completed by 13th of April. Curb and slipper drains, 2.6 kilometers of the 9.6 kilometers have been completed, and drains will be completed by the 23rd of May. The bridge abutments, both for Law and the Belfield bridges, those have been completed, and the installation of the steel girders will commence by 31 of March, and the bridge schedule, those bridges scheduled for completion by the 18th of May this year. Asphalt concrete surfacing, some 1.2 kilometers from the Boadiap Junction has been completed. And during the coming weeks, though, significant portions of those roads are targeted for asphalt paving. And with the road surfacing work scheduled works to be completed by 29th of June this year. For Lot 2, Castlebruce to Hatton Garden through Kalinago, excavation works 85% completed. Retaining walls, works are ongoing on 4 of the 42 walls. Culverts, 30 of the 90 culverts have been placed, with works ongoing on the inlet-outlet structures, and such works are scheduled to be completed by the 16th of June. Concrete drainage works have not yet started, but those works will be completed by the 18th of September. For the bridges, the temporary diversions have been completed, and the dates for the completion of the bridges are Castlebruce Bridge, 30 May, Richmond Bridge, 11th of July, and the Puigua Bridge, 19th of September. A key aspect of the Lot 2 works, works not directly related to the contractor's work, are really the upgrading of the potable pipelines, potable water pipelines from Sinico to Antrizo, some 13 kilometers. The WASCO has advised that all of the pipes have been purchased, and works are expected to commence shortly with the engagement of 2 or more contractors. Now, there's no doubt that, the project has faced some administrative challenges. From the project commencement, supervision was done by a consultant, Al Abduladi Engineering Consultancy, AEC. Their contract ended on the 15th of August 2022 and was not renewed. From the 16th of August last year to present, just about 7 months, the supervision services are being provided by an interim team led by the Ministry of Public Works and project support from the DVRP and CRID. Some of the measures that we have employed, when I say we, the interim team have employed to sort of change things around, include the more robust project management and contract administration, the implementation of more rigorous quality assurance and quality control procedures, and really holding the contractor more responsible and more accountable to his responsibilities under the contract. We are undertaking more frequent monitoring of the project activities and ensuring that the contractor fulfills his responsibilities as specified in his environmental, social management plan for the East Roads project. Now, a public health and safety matter that has been of concern to us is the increasing and unacceptable levels of dust at Castle Bruce and the surrounding hamlets, and also in the Kalinago territory. In addition to the contractor's equipment, we have engaged an additional 2 trucks and looking at a third from today. Further, last week we purchased a number of hoses and distributed to individuals within those communities to help suppress the dust. An additional 2 water trucks are expected by April. I also want to take this opportunity to appeal to equipment owners with water trucks to get in touch with us at the ministry urgently. This is in an effort to engage them for mitigating this dust situation. As I end, I wish to thank the residents of Castle Bruce and likewise the residents of the Kalinago territory for their continued patience during the implementation of this important roadworks project. We will continue to work very hard to ensure that your inconveniences are greatly minimized. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Mr. Johnson for these facts and figures to help us better understand the magnitude of the project and, importantly, the kind of progress that is being made on the project. At this point, I open the floor to take your questions for the Honorable Prime Minister and his colleague minister, as well as to Mr. Johnson. Curtis?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dion Jura. I have 2 questions for the Prime Minister.
Yes, please go ahead, Curtis.
Yes, so I have 2 questions for the Prime Minister. My first question is, one of the contentious matters or issues, Prime Minister, surrounding the international airport construction has to do with planning permission. Has the government of Dominica received the green light from planning for construction of the international airport? That's the first question. The other question has to do with electoral reform. Prime Minister, you have said over and over that you do not want to see Dominicans abroad at a disadvantage in electoral reform process, in any process to do with electoral reform. What for you, Prime Minister, would be the best thing for electoral reform for Dominica at this point in time? In other words, what are some of the things you'd like to see in an electoral reform program at this point in time? If I have the opportunity, I'll come back again soon.
Just in respect to this emotive point of planning permission, planning department has 2 functions. So the chief physical planner has 2 functions. One, as an advisor to the government on planning matters, physical planning matters, and also one of regulatory function. We have been engaging on the advisory responsibility of planning, and that extends to the other officers within the government department who have an advisory role to play on infrastructure in Dominica. And so we've engaged extensively those entities of the state in the process of drawing up the master plan and ensuring that everything we do follows the necessary planning requirements of the laws of Dominica, and also, very importantly, the international standards that are required for the construction of an international airport. The view is that as you go along with the project, you will seek planning approval on a phased approach. And this is nothing new. there are projects in Dominica where we have, in fact, received planning approval. So if you're going to build a private home, you get outline planning approval to say, well, it's a good site to build, the area. This is where your wastewater is going to go. This is where your septic tank will be placed on the lot that you have, etc., etc. So you get outline planning approval until you get the final planning approval, where you submit your construction designs, your engineering designs, electricals, plumbing, where your water from the roof will end up being, whether it's on the neighbor's property, on the main road, whatever it is, etc., etc. So there's a process, and one understands a project of that magnitude. We may not have all of the expertise within the planning department to assist the government in that process, and this is why we've been engaging international entities. And we are bringing on board, as a matter of fact, in the next week or two, we will finalize the contract for an international firm, American-based firm, who will also assist both the government and the planning department in the process of ensuring that all of the engineering designs, all of the architectural designs, the emergency designs, the electrical work, all of these components are followed insofar as international requirements for the construction of an international airport. Because we don't only have to satisfy only our domestic requirements. We have to ensure that we satisfy the international requirements, because that's the only way planes are going to come to Dominica, if the airport is certified and meets international standards. So the issue of planning approval is not an issue, I believe, that the right-thinking Dominicans should be concerned about. The government will certainly follow the processes as we have done. But as I said to the point, I made the point earlier, persons who are here raise that question. Never raise those questions when it was said that airports were going to build in the past. As a matter of fact, when there was this big screen in Lagon, and what appears to be a toy plane landed on the big screen, and there was a view that the airport was going to start before the 2000 elections, the same people were excited. But now, and the point is, every time there's a sense, there's a visible sign that this airport will happen, people keep shifting the goalposts. So they move now, recognizing that this is serious. I don't know why they don't take me serious, because everything I have promised in this country we have delivered. Sometimes it takes a little longer than I expect, but I don't make promises that I can't keep. And so, and we can see a number of things. They say the hospital won't come, the stadium won't come. There's no way Skerrit can build a road going up to Rose Street. We have all these steps going up and the gradient there. They said that they warned the people of Bath Estate that they should protest against the construction of the link road between Goodwill and Bath Estate, because rocks are going to fall on their homes and destroy their homes and kill their children and their grandparents, and they should protest. Not one pebble got into the yard of any homeowner in Bath Estate. And we have a 2-lane road in Bath Estate after that. So we can speak to a number of projects and programs in this country. But I want to let the country know that we're taking this project very, very seriously. It is being done with the highest sense of professionalism, recognizing all of the international requirements and, of course, our own domestic requirements. And I'll say to us, not only have we conducted the AI, which people say we don't have, but we have also engaged a local consultant to ensure that all of the historical artifacts that we may come into contact with are preserved for future generations. And so far, an exceptional job has been done. And we've taken so much care, even with regards to, there's some burial grounds, private burial grounds on the site of the airport. And we have been engaging the families to set up special dates at their convenience, so that the remains of their loved ones can be treated with the greatest level of care and respect, and that the relocated site will be done with the reverence to these deceased persons and so forth. We're very careful with this thing. Very careful with this thing. And even with the acquisition of properties, even with the crop compensation, we've been very, very careful about this because we understand that of the sensitivity of people with properties and homes and so forth. And so we're very careful with this. So the issue of planning permission that has been raised by a few people in the country is really an emotive question, and it's not a question that they're serious about. It's not a question that they're very concerned about. The same people talking about compensation to people when they don't have any land up there, and they do not know what agreement the government has signed with these people, who have gotten paid, who haven't gotten paid yet, but they go up there and making noise for people who they don't know. And as I understand it, out of so many people living in Wesley, in Palm Tree and Woodfield, only 3 people showed up to join those who went up on Wednesday to bring negative light to the airport. So a simple response to your question: all of the laws of the country will be followed, and we'll ensure that we meet all of the international standards required for an international airport, so that we will build an airport that can be utilized for generations to come. The issue of electoral reform, as I have said before, Sir Dennis Byron has indicated that he will submit his report, I believe, on about the 25th of March this month. We've also written and gotten confirmation of technical support from the Organization of American States and also from the Commonwealth Secretariat, who will provide us with technical experts to see us through the consultative process and see us through the passage of the legislation to give effect to some of the changes. Now, there's the issue of Dominicans who reside out of Dominica, and how do you treat them in respect to residency in Dominica post the verification process. So if a Dominican living in Florida or Guadeloupe were to go through the verification process, he gets his national ID card, he's on the voters list, how long should that person be resident out of Dominica to remain on the list, or how long should that person be resident in Dominica to remain on that list? So it's a matter for Dominicans to decide what they want. I believe that if we're making progressive changes to legislation in this current period, I think the changes must reflect a progressive and an enlightened position. That the world today really has no borders, and if we're talking about the diaspora, as we like to use this word, do we talk about the diaspora only if we want their money or we want something from them, or do we truly mean the fact that even if you reside overseas or out of Dominica, that you are Dominican, and there are certain rights and privileges that you should be afforded? So I don't want to go into details of this. I will let the Dominican public look at the report that will be submitted to us, and I will make it available to the public in its entirety. And the Dominican people will make a determination on the aspects of the electoral reform process. But I have written to Sir Dennis, drawing to the attention on the first draft report that he submitted, drawing to the attention certain areas I believe that the process may look at with some critical eyes. So I await the final report, and it's only after I get the final report I can make more definitive comments on where we go from there.
It's the month, by the way, it's the month of April, as you've said before. It's not a time when you. Yes. It's the month of April, as you've said before. Would you be ready, when I say you, the government, to go to Parliament with these electoral laws?
Well, it all depends on the public. I would say from the government standpoint, we will be ready to go to Parliament in April. If we receive the report on 25th of March. I would have expected, and I did in fact write to Sir Dennis, indicating to him that I was a bit disappointed that the report is taking so long to be submitted. And I was pressing actually for early March, first week of March, for the report to be made available to us. But he indicated, and I had to agree. I don't necessarily agree, but there's nothing I could do in that circumstance to say, well, 25th of March, we'll look forward to the report. But I would have expected the report to have been with us at an earlier date. And I think part of the reason why it has been delayed is that additional work has been taken on by Sir Dennis because the drafting of the legislation was not part of his terms of references initially, but that was taken on. And so I look forward to this report. And it may very well be a situation where we may have to go to Parliament twice to pass a first piece of legislation and a second piece of legislation. So it will wait for the report 25th. But there's certain anxiety in my bones to get this off the national debate in the country, and I hope that once we do that others, persons will focus on more critical aspects of our development and make life better for our people. Yes, Matt, please.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Good morning. I'm following up with Curtis as it relates to the planning permission there in the Wesley area. As we speak, there's a group that have been speaking about an injunction if following measures not followed, if you will. Are you not concerned about this at this time? I know you're moving the speed for the international airport. And another concern that came up, the paragraph is there, and there's not been consultation with the people of Wesley. Can you speak to that, sir?
Yeah. This is one of the most democratic countries you'll find anywhere in the world. And it is one of the countries where freedom of expression is exercised beyond measure anywhere in the world. And therefore, anyone is free, or any group of individuals is free to go to the public and to the courts and to file whatever they wish to file. There are people who file caveats on properties that they don't even know where it is. So we have these things happening in Dominica. And it is up to whoever wants to go and file an injunction to stop this international airport. But all I would say to these people is that their actions will not be taken kindly by people in Dominica. Because their actions is not to seek facts, because they're not interested in facts. Because even when I hear the same people talking about no EIA was done, and many times in the public domain, including in Parliament, I indicated that we had engaged a team to conduct the EIA. I indicated to the Parliament and to the public of Dominica that a first report was submitted to us and that the final report is ongoing. We indicated the team that was doing it, et cetera, et cetera. There were photographs of the team being on site, engaging in the EIA. So it is. It would be unfortunate that anybody would take that course of action. But we have some very funny people among us in this country sometimes, and so they're free to do whatever it is. But I'm not going to bed with any sleepless nights over that at all. Certainly. So they're free to do that.
Do you realize it's one of the former civil servants?
Oh,
Making a comment?
who's that?
It relates to the planning.
Who former civil servant?
The chief of planning, former. Mr. Edwards.
Well, Mr. Edwards, if you say Mr. Edwards is a politician in every aspect of the word.
A politician?
Yeah, a politician.
Okay.
Anybody who feel like that, who speak about these things, are not raising these things from any professional standpoint. Where was she when Edison James and people said they were going to build an international airport? She wasn't planning. What did she say? Did you see in the record question Mr. James about whether he had planning approval or anything like this? Matt, you're in Dominica longer than I have been in Dominica. You know these people even better than me. These people are not. Look at the committee that was formed when we were acquiring the lands. People who said they were born in Wesley but had not been in Wesley for so many years. Their lands were not being affected in any way. They don't. And they sought to stop the airport. The attempt was to stop the airport. The people who are opposing to this airport are the same people who have been opposed to every single thing constructively that have been done in the country or attempted to do in the country. And I think young people in Dominica who wish to see a better life for themselves, more opportunities for themselves in Dominica, having been provided with access to tertiary education by this Labour Party government, must stand in defense of their future. They must stand in defense of their future. Because what these people are attempting to do is to steal the young people's prosperous future from them. I mean, if these people have some spirit within their bones that are fighting with them, then they need to go and have it exercised, but not try to bring the people of Dominica down or prevent opportunities for people of Dominica. And I think we have to distinguish serious questions of concern from politically motivated questions.
So you don't think it's professional? It's
I
political?
don't. It's not. But it's not. You know that, Comrade Matt. I mean, you know that it is not professionally done. You know that people are not raising this at all. It's politically motivated. These are the same people who have raised objection to everything that we have done in this country. Everything. They are opposed to it. So it is not being done by people who have a genuine desire to ensure that things are done correctly. And we have no problem with people raising questions with us, to express a genuine concern of ensuring that things are done properly, and we stick to the law, we stick to planning approvals, we do the EIA, we do proper geotechnical studies, the engineering has been properly reviewed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have no problem engaging. And for anybody to say that we have not engaged the public on the international airport, clearly it's been mischievous. I have led consultations in Wesley prior to the decision to acquire land, after the decision to acquire lands, shared some of the conceptual drawings and master plan concepts to the people there. We've had some extensive consultation, especially with those who were directly affected. On many occasions I've gone up there. Small groups, larger groups, various stakeholders beyond the Wesley, Woodford and Palm Tree area. It's an ongoing process. It's going to be an ongoing process. We have not even seen actual earth movement started. It's an ongoing process. At every stage of the process, we will engage. We should finalize the design of the website very soon, so that people can be kept on the ball with updates of what's happening, and the EIA and all these documents we'll place on the website so that people can read it themselves, and et cetera, and give you ball by ball updates of the international airport. This project has been done in the most transparent way. You understand? And so forth. So this is where it is, and people who are raising vexatious points, really, they're not professionals.
A quick question, Prime Minister.
They'll say that they're professional, but they're not professional. They're political activists.
We continue. Another concern that's circulating right now about this French national missing in Dominica. Have any concern? Because I know delegations are coming from Martinique, maybe Paris, in search of this young lady. Any concern at this time? Well,
we in the Ministry of National Security, the police, have been in direct contact with the French authorities and collaborating and cooperating. I've been kept updated on this matter by the Minister of National Security up until Saturday evening. He briefed me on what has been done and our collaboration with the French authorities. I have said to the Minister of Security to communicate to the police here that we should, because the yacht which the lady came on left to go back to Guadeloupe. And I believe that the French authorities need to pick up the boat captain and the yacht people, because she cannot have a crew. And so I think that while we're making efforts to search for the young lady here, because it's difficult to search for her if you don't know a particular area that she went into hiking or whatever it is. And I don't think that we should rule out foul play by anybody involved in this. And so I think that this yacht and the yacht captain who now in Guadeloupe, I've been told, or heading out to Europe, should be held by the French authorities and to give answers as to where has the crew member gone. But we collaborating, as we've always done, on these matters on a daily basis, and there's there's the communication throughout the day for the last several days with the French authorities, and whatever support we have to provide. It's very clear that Dominica will provide and has been providing that support for her. And so we do hope and pray that she is safe somewhere, and that she could be located, whether in Dominica or Guadeloupe, for that matter. Did I miss a second question of yours, Matt? You said.
The consultation.
Okay, consultation. Okay.
The MP to
Yeah.
make a comment. He's very silent.
But you got the response from the government. Yeah.
So just two questions quickly. The equipment, the transportation of the equipment, the heavy equipment for the international airport, what routes will be used to transport those equipment? And because I know there at one point there were some concerns regarding the Antrim Road, a certain part of that road deteriorating. And number two, Kenisha, has the search for Kenisha been officially called off? Can you update us on that? And there's a wonderful plan in place for the city of Roseau. Can you update us on the Roseau enhancement project? Thank you.
Yeah. The issue of the equipment, I've been advised that we'll use two routes. We'll use the Portsmouth route, depending on the size of the equipment, and also the interior road to get to the airport side. So two routes will be utilized in the transportation of the equipment on that side. And secondly, with regards to Kenisha, obviously the police may end the physical search in the forest, but the case remains very open as far as the police is concerned. And so it is not a file that has been closed by the police at all. It was really an unfortunate situation that traumatized the entire country and brought concern to the entire country, and something that the police continue to keep the file open on the missing child, Kenisha. Okay. With regards to the city of Roseau, I expect that the Ministry of Public Works and others will advance this project in the next few weeks. There have been some delays. Some of it had to do with the consultative process and the engagement of the service providers, with Dominica and Flow and Digicel, and the abilities to run the cables underground, and some not having the capacity, etc., etc. And so the final decision really for us, I believe, would be to proceed with the project, make provisions for the underground facilitation of the cable, and that will come later down, because as far as the residents of Roseau, first and foremost, and those of us who come into the city and the wider community, we are concerned about a couple of critical things: the drainage, the surface of the road, and very critically, the sidewalks. And I believe that we're going to move ahead quickly with those components, while we will address the issue of the telephone poles and the overhanging cables on the city. So you won't see those cables being disappearing while the project is being under construction, because of the challenges we're having with the service providers, and we do not want to delay this project anymore, because that is very, very, very crucial for the residents of the city. But allowance will be made for this. Where we have to work with DOASCO, because DOASCO will eventually have to dig the road after we do it. So we're working with DOASCO to ensure that their component can be done simultaneously with the construction of the road, so that they will not do digging to run water pipes after this was done. So I think really the DOASCO, the ministry, will have to work with more closely to ensure that we can get the understanding of engaging, of doing this stuff side by side. But really and truly, I believe Dominicans are pretty concerned about the drainage, because the stench in the city will not go unless you have the broken drains fixed, and then you insist that restaurant owners have traps to trap the extra food, and that the oil, used oil are disposed in a particular manner. Because all of these things contribute to this thing. But the sidewalks, clearly, we have to do something about the sidewalk, and we have to do it fast, because you can't do any patching on the sidewalks, because they've gone to a point of, especially on Great George Street, and some parts of Independence Street as well, and King George V Street. So those are the three streets that we would tackle first, and then all of the side streets go down to Cox Street and Hillsborough Street and Kennedy Avenue. That'll happen. So, but this is a priority project for us, and of course, I'm hoping that we'll have further consultation in the next couple of days and give our final push on this very important project. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Just one question.
Sure.
One question before we go. Prime Minister, we all realize that we have lost an icon in our midst as it relates to Mr. Alwin Bully. You're standing right before the flag that he designed. A lot of people are now considering, should we have an Alwin Bully Day? What will we do in his honor?
Well, these things usually you'd have to get the concurrence of the family to discuss these things. You would have missed the opening statement. Yeah. So we will be bestowed upon him on the official funeral, and there'll be 2 days of national mourning, the day immediately preceding his burial and the day of his burial. And I believe that, you see, I have been speaking about these things for some time in the country, and maybe since I was Minister of Education, but sometimes we wait for things to happen for us to make all kinds of suggestions in this country. The issue of history in our schools, Dominican history, is something that we have to look at seriously. And I'm talking about ancient Dominican history and contemporary modern Dominican history. So that we have a greater appreciation for those who would have made a difference in our lives in this country over the existence of our country. And this is one of the ways that we can instill a sense of pride, a sense of gratitude among our future generations of young people, and the wider public. And I think in that process, the contributions of local icons like Mr. Alwin Bully would be highlighted, as part of our social studies. And I find that our social studies in the schools doesn't have enough of a local Dominican content, except in national assessment where you have a few questions here. But we have to have an appreciation for local social studies, local history, so that our people have a better appreciation for Dominica and things Dominican, and to set aside time for transferring our local traditions to our young people, customs, dances, language. I mean, the whole Creole language, we hardly speak it, in Dominica. You speak to somebody in Creole in Dominica and they respond in English, So we have to be conscious of it. And I mean, times have changed. The world has no boundaries. You have access to television, all sorts of productions and so forth. So I understand, but we have to ensure that there's an anchor, and the best way to have an anchor is in the school systems where it is entrenched, and then it can get to the homes, into the communities. So we really need to revisit those things and not make it a subject where you have to sit an exam. It has to be about your culture and your traditions. You understand? And I think too that we have to get to the state of maturity in Dominica, where we need to look at identifying who have been our national heroes in Dominica, and what kind of special consideration should we give to our national heroes? You know, Bala and Congore and all those, you know, Jolly John and Indian Warner who fought the British in Warner and Massac and who died defending the indigenous peoples, and Jolly John who was responsible for bringing enlightenment to the rest of the nation, to the struggles of the Kalinago people, you know, and certainly people like Alwin Bully would have been featured in his whole contribution to our culture and the design of the flag, which is the greatest symbol the country has, its flag. You understand, and so forth. But it's very important that we for these things to happen, we have to have a greater sense of gratitude in our bones, you know, a greater sense of respect. You know, when people talk about when the president comes and we should not stand, and then we want this and that. I mean, this is not who we are as a people. This is we're never known to be purveyors of that kind of crass behavior and so on. And so, unless we teach people gratitude and respect and for authority and for institutions and for emblems, you understand? And you know, we have so many things in school that we don't have time for prayer and singing our national anthem and the national pledge, that we've replaced it with some kind of subject, you know, and so forth. So these are things that we have to make attention, because otherwise we will find a situation where if we don't watch it, that people may not even be able to recite the national anthem or the national pledge, you know. And these are the things that we have to be inculcating in the minds of preschoolers and primary schoolers and secondary schools. And we need to, this is why I've been talking about the whole review of the national curriculum. National curriculum. We have to dramatically look at those things. You understand? But it's not government to do it, it's a societal engagement. We have to commit ourselves to that, not be reactionary when an event happens. You know, not be reactionary when an event happens, and so forth. So this is some of the things that I'm hoping that the Ministry of Culture will take on, and the Ministry of Education and take on. Contrary to what people think, that this is not a one-man state. Sometimes it's better to be a one-man state, you know, because you get things done much faster and so on. But you have to consult for so long, and everybody wants to be part of the process, as they call it, you know, and to give you views and so on, and every time you think they've exhausted your views, you may never get, and they come back with 20 more views and so on, and sometimes we have to do things a little faster, greater alacrity in this country, you know, and because time waits for no man. And the Lord cautions us, the Bible cautions us about leaving things for tomorrow, because you worry not about tomorrow, you know, because tomorrow has its own challenges. Any other questions? Yes, Morris.
Yes, PM.
It's nice to see you. You look very well.
Yeah, I feel well. I feel well. Thank you,
yes,
PM. It really wasn't a major question, but as you were discussing the Roseau enhancement project, I wanted to ask, you know, or perhaps make an observation that while we are working on the sidewalks, improving the sidewalks, basically now people are parking on the sidewalks now. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Perhaps it's a question for another minister, but I just
the project will take into consideration that the sidewalks will be for pedestrians, and so there will be what term you call it, P.S. Lancelot? Barriers or whatever you call it, or metal railings. You can use the railings. Bollards. Yeah, so that will be placed to avoid you from driving on the sidewalk and parking on the sidewalk, and so that a pedestrian can walk freely with no fear of being hit by a vehicle or being bruised by a vehicle while using the sidewalk. So those things have been taken into consideration here. Yeah.
So
Yeah, sure.
I know the East Coast Road project, we are quickly approaching the hurricane season. I don't know how much the likely impact of the heavy rains on your projects, how much you're factoring that into the expeditiousness, if I may say, with which you do what you're doing.
Okay, thank you for that observation. So, as you would have realized, the rains have the greatest impact on the slope stabilization aspect of it. And as we stated earlier, for Lot 1, that has been completed. And secondly, for Lot 2, it's 85% completed. The remaining sections for Lot 2, though, are not in any sort of challenging situations. It's pretty much rock excavation to be done. So we do not see much of a challenge there. Interestingly, and what has led to some delay on the project is initially when the project was conceptualized, the designer looked at installing or designing culverts of similar capacity to what was there before, of course with some upgrades. So you looked at looking at 3-foot diameter culverts. But from our observation post Erica and Maria, especially for maintenance reasons, we made the ultimate decision to upgrade those sizes to a minimum of 4 feet by 4 feet. With the last heavy rains, I can tell you, we saw that was quite a wise decision to do. If we were stuck with the smaller size pipes, of course the hydraulic studies would have since shown, okay, they could easily pass through all the discharge. But the challenge in our climate is obstructions, okay? Obstructions from trees and other debris coming down, affecting those culverts. So the larger sizes allow more discharge, more obstructions to pass through. So, I mean, we cannot say for sure with the hurricane season that is upcoming what is going to happen, but I can say that we're in a better position now to deal with any likely impact if something were to happen.
Thank you to Mr. Johnson. We do not want to keep you past the lunch hour PM. I see Curtis has a question. Go ahead, Curtis.
Prime Minister Darwin Sadimak, the port manager of Antigua and Barbuda, made a very interesting statement with Cecil Joseph last night when he said that they've just completed the Antigua port at a cost of $100 million. He's suggesting that Antigua's port can serve as a hub for the other OECS territories, and that it does not make sense for the other islands to get into building new ports with a cost of over 80, 90, $100 million. What is, I'm not sure whether you heard the statement from Darwin Telemark when he spoke to Cecil last night, but what is your overall feelings on that statement from him, that they could serve as a hub for the other islands, and Dominica, Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Kitts don't necessarily have to go into building major ports in the future? And my second question, has the Prime Minister started considering names for a new president for Dominica?
Well, I did not hear this statement, but I've heard this statement before, coming from other people. I'll make it very clear that we'll proceed with the construction of our international airport, notwithstanding the fact that we're between Guadeloupe and Martinique, both of them have international airports, and it's about 10 minutes away from us. And we will also proceed with the construction of a new cargo and cruise terminal to replace the current deepwater harbor and to introduce the use of technology for the better management of cargo coming in and out of Dominica, and to ensure that we have a more resilient port in the event of a natural disaster. So while we commend other countries for building their facilities for domestic use, Dominica is no different from other countries. That we have to have our own infrastructure, and we will have our own infrastructure, notwithstanding the fact that others may have theirs. And and so this is my preoccupation as the Prime Minister, to ensure that we have our infrastructure to serve our purposes, our national interests. Where we can collaborate and partner, we're prepared to do so, and we've always done so. But we have to secure our own future and our own development, and so forth. And so on. The other issue of the president, the current president, His Excellency Charles Savary, his term comes to an end on October 1, 2023, and he would have served 2 terms maximum as stipulated by the Constitution. We have given consideration for a replacement of the president, and at the appropriate time, I shall inform the country of likely candidates and the final candidate for consideration. So that is hidden in a file in my office and so on.
So you have someone in mind?
We have someone in mind, yes, and at the appropriate time we'll do this. I ask maybe the final point before we rush for lunch. And I hear people complain, including our own citizens, about how difficult it is to travel intra-regionally in Dominica. But I recall when I took the decision on behalf of the government to invest in LIAT, the political opponents of this government and some people in this country criticized me for investing money into LIAT. They were saying that, how come Dominica is wasting money investing in LIAT, and LIAT is a failed company, it makes no profit, etc., etc., etc. And I cautioned Dominicans, I cautioned those persons who were saying that by saying that if LIAT doesn't come into Dominica for one day, we'll have a problem. We'll have a problem. And I recognize as the Prime Minister of the country the important and unprecedented role that LIAT has played and was played at the time to intra-regional travel. And LIAT was, and recognized our investments, LIAT was most helpful to Dominica, especially after disaster. And I do not believe that there's any other entity that can reasonably be expected to replace the functions of LIAT in the region. And government's investments in air transportation in the region cannot be replaced by private sector investments only. That governments must invest in intra-regional travel. Because intra-regional travel for so many islands is really a public good. That while you want these entities to run professionally and greater accountability and greater transparency, there are certain things that you don't expect from them. You understand? Because they have to fly into areas that a commercial airline running as a private investment would not want to go into. You understand? And that's where LIAT was important. And so I would rather I was declared to be wrong by history than I am correct by history. Because this is affecting all of us so badly. You understand? And our economies in a dramatic way, that since the departure of LIAT from the regional scene. Okay, and I'm saying that Dominica is prepared to, as we've met, and we're prepared to play our part financially. But you absolutely need a construct like LIAT that will be complemented by the private sector airlines to give you the kind of service that you really need in these islands. And this is why you look at most parts of the world, that the treasuries of these countries, no matter how developed your country is, that the treasuries of the country play a role financially in the running of these airlines because of the greater good to the economy the greater good to the economy. And so this is why, so, you know, we speak in this country from an emotional standpoint sometimes, and largely from a partisan standpoint. So everything Skerrit does, there'll be people who will oppose it, even if it is that they're thirsty and I give them a glass of water, they'll have a problem with that. You understand? And we have to elevate our discourse in this country and the content of our discourse in this country. And look at what's happening. We'll chastise and criticize. Like, there are so many questions that were asked of me in Parliament about Liat and wasting money and comments being made and wasting money and so forth. And people, I warned us in this country that we cannot do without Liat for one day, far more for its eternal departure. We just can't travel. We can't travel. We cannot no longer book a flight this afternoon for tonight. You have to book a flight months in advance. To go from Dominica to Grenada, you have to go to Miami. And how many of us have an American visa? You know, how many of us have an American visa? And so this is a regional emergency, intra-regional travel. And that we ourselves are being kept fully engaged in that process and ensuring that we can address this issue. But you're going to need a construct like Liat. And that's why I want to thank the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda for his heroic efforts in at least having a couple of the planes flying and providing the service, albeit not to the original level that we are accustomed to. And so forth. Thank you very much, the media. We're keeping our promise every 2 weeks, once I'm in the country. But feel free to reach out to us if there are any burning questions which you may have for me or for any of the ministers, so we can provide the facts as they are to the public through you. Thank you very much.